Sarah, I think you put the draft in the Dropbox, and so I did mark up that draft, and I couldn't figure out how to like copy and paste it so I could put it somewhere else so everybody could see it. But I'll go over what I put verbally, and then you'll be able to find it as a markup in your Dropbox. Okay? Does anybody know how to copy things from the Dropbox? Maybe there's a technique
I've
that.
not tried.
Pardon? Yeah,
Tried.
it wouldn't. It just wouldn't do it, and it wouldn't let me mark up the actual document. I was going to try to copy and paste, but oh well. Okay. So I went back over some of the stuff that we went over the last time, and I see that there were some additions, and I still had a couple of comments. Okay. So on the title page, when you get into the body of the paper, you do talk about the collaborators, but you don't name them by name. I think you say you're going to use a physiatrist and somebody else. So depending on what you use, and particularly if they're real people that you actually talk to and they give you some advice, put them as collaborators on your front page. So don't forget the idea of the collaborator. And then the other thing is to, like, this is your second draft. So on that title page, you should have the date of your first draft and then the date of your second draft, so that we can see the progress. It's in the feedback form, the slip grading and feedback form. So just I know you'll probably catch it eventually, but I just want to remind you on that. Okay, so the program intro. Now, Georgia, I think you did that, right? The introduction.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I would still like you to get a little more specific about exactly what you're going to do and exactly the outcome you expect. And kind of when I read your paper, what I think that I understand that you're doing is that your innovation or your different thing is the use of this technology. The music glove and the BioNess, and that's what I see primarily as the innovation. Now, is the actual care coordination within the program an innovation? Is it something that doesn't exist now or something that you're going to improve? But even in the intro, I would still like to really see, this is exactly what we're going to do, and these are the outcomes that we hope to expect. I mean, it could be 2 sentences. This is it, and the reason it's important is because we think we're going to get that outcome. Okay, the development team things were fine. The only thing I still found, Georgia, I think it was in yours, spell out bone marrow transplant, because you never know who's reading. I'm sure that was just an oversight. You spelled out most of the things, but that was one that I suggest being spelled out. Okay, target population. So Melissa, I think you did that section. Yeah. On the target population. Now, when I went back through that, I found that the corrections that I suggested the last time weren't necessarily done. So I don't know whether I didn't get the most recent draft or whatever. But when I did the markup again, I put them in again. I did see that you expanded psychological complications. You did a nice job with that. When you go to the bottom of that page, it's on page 8 where you're describing the psychological complications. You start another sentence, but it just cuts off. So I don't know what the rest of the sentence was, or maybe take a look at that and see what might be what you were planning to say. Other thing is the social complications, and some of the things I think up in terms of social complications really are the potential for job loss. You know, just the things. If somebody does suffer a stroke, what's really going to happen in terms of social complications? The impact on the family, some of those kinds of things. But all in all, good additions. Thank you. Nice job. Okay. Client eligibility. Who worked on the client eligibility? You must be muted.
Sarah. I did. I'm sorry. I was actually looking to see if I could find our marked up copy, and I cannot see it.
Are you in the Dropbox?
I was, yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
I
right.
can't see any
Like once something goes into the Dropbox, you can't get it. All right, I know what I need to do. I need to act like I graded it. And
Oh,
what
okay.
I did was mark it up and I didn't like communicate a grade or something. I'll take
Oh,
care of
gotcha.
that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for checking before we got too down the road. Okay, let me tell myself what to do. Okay, grade it. If I don't write it down, all right, so client eligibility, really good. I think the stroke score is a great idea. I'm a big fan of the FIM. I don't know how many of you have worked with that very much, but that is a really great tool, not only for screening, but it's something to really consider in terms of your outcomes also. So your FIM changes, you probably thought of that already, but your changes in your FIM score would be also something to look at in terms of your outcome.
Okay.
It's good to include it in the appendix. When I went to the appendix, I could see the FIM, but I could not open that stroke score,
Okay.
the stroke tool. So I don't know why, but I could see it was a PDF, but I couldn't bring it up. So
Yeah, I'm actually going to try this from work tomorrow. I'm going to see if I can't convert it to a Word document so that that way we can save it in there.
yeah,
It wouldn't let
I
me do
think
it.
I think Word documents are probably always the easiest thing
Yeah.
when you can make it happen. Okay, all right. So I like that. I think that was fine. All right. Who worked on the plan for delivery of care?
That was Melissa.
Okay. I don't know whether you can hear my phone ringing in the background. It'll stop.
I was actually just thinking that was mine.
It's my daughter. She wants to discuss our Thanksgiving plans.
I can't even begin to think about
I
Thanksgiving
know,
yet.
I know. It's like Halloween ends, and now here comes everything else. So, okay, so the plan for delivery of care. I liked your description of the model of care is inpatient rehab. I mean, I think that's what I'm reading. But I want you to choose a model of care. Go back into Lamb's book and look at care coordination. Just choose a model that kind of explains what you're doing.
Okay.
Okay. Invent a model. Name it. You know, I went to actually the American Organization of Nurse Executives conference this year. I don't know whether anybody's ever had an opportunity to do that, but that is an amazing conference if you ever have that opportunity. But I forget who was talking, but she was talking about innovation and talking about nursing, and she was saying that so often in nursing, we figure out a new, different thing to do, and we do it, and it probably makes a difference, but because we never named it, or we never called it anything, or we never referenced it, then it maybe never got noticed. So I think if you're doing something different, name it. And use the name kind of through your paper. You've got a title on your front page, and you know that may be part of it, but something catchy where you're saying, you know, we're doing something different, this is the name of it, and it really educates people in terms of what's the new thing, and they're really looking at the changes. So it's like, oh yeah, so and so or one unit was doing this, and now I'm seeing some differences. So if you're doing something innovative, you're doing something different, name it and claim it. So that advice really resonated with me when I heard her say that. Okay, so so our innovation, if I'm understanding, is an adjustment to the inpatient program. Is that correct? Not correct?
Just adding that technology.
Adding the technology to the inpatient program.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Pretty good. I think it's okay. Name it and find a model of care. Okay. Care delivery environment. I actually think you did a very nice job with that. So, you know, really looking at a holistic approach and some of the unique things that you might have. I think that was good. Um, Okay, the other thing when you talk about this new technology is the research on this pretty strong, or is it all like company research? Like I made the music glove and I'm saying it works. I'm asking. I don't know.
Yeah, there is some research out there, evidence-based research on there, and we have found a couple articles. So
Okay.
the only one that we're kind of still looking for research articles that we're having a hard time finding is that TheraSuit. So I think we might just nix that.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Okay,
may be
so-
discounting that because we can't find good, solid research on it.
Okay, so again, when you're trying to sell something and you want this organization to give you money, you've got to really tell them why. I want you to invest this money. This is what the research says. This is the difference that I think we're going to make. So in talking about that technology, be heavy on the supporting research. Okay. The care delivery personnel, I was thinking, is your interdisciplinary rehab team primarily?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And then your interprofessional team, I'm thinking maybe that it probably when you were answering those questions, it seemed like the same question. Did it seem like the same question? Okay.
Yeah.
So it's back to what's your innovation? Who are the people that are going to be involved in your innovation? And so to talk about your technology, expansion of technology, is that primarily your physical therapist? I mean, who operates this equipment? So when you talk about your interprofessional team, I would talk about who's responsible for the innovation, and then of course, since it's kind of a nursing thing, you probably want to also associate whoever your care coordinator is, or whatever your nurse link is in your program. Okay. All right, care coordination and transition plan. I wrote myself a note, and now it's not terribly clear to me. I think so. So what you're really talking about is care coordination from admission to discharge. And I'm asking, is that the kind of the focus of care coordination?
Yeah.
Is the acute care. So that's good, but again, kind of linking, if you've done all this good work while the patient is an inpatient, then how do you ensure that you don't lose track of him, or what might be involved. And the other thing you might actually want to do, I'm just making some suggestions for outcomes because it's something we did with inpatient rehab program at one point. I mean, we did follow-up telephone FIMS. I don't know whether you've thought about that yet, to really look at were the gains in the FIM sustainable? What did they look like a month down the road? What do they look like 3 months down the road? And even though when you do a FIM in the hospital, you're looking at who's worked with FIM. Has anybody worked with FIM?
No.
Okay, so you in the hospital, you look at the patient, and it's an interdisciplinary team that does the FIM assessment. And so there was some question about, well, could you do it over the telephone? But I'm pretty sure there's some research out there, and we found that pretty successful and pretty easy, a good way to follow up with patients. And something that I think all of the discharge literature is showing these days is that if anything's going to go wrong with the patient, it's going to go wrong in the first month that they're home. Suddenly they don't have what they need, they don't have the support they need. So, looking at your care coordination in acute care, and then your transition plan and how you're going to track that transition plan. Melissa, helpful questions?
Yeah. Nope, that's good. I'm just writing stuff down and
Okay. Okay. All right. Who did the plan for financing?
Oh, I'm the numbers girl. It's
Okay,
Georgia.
you're the numbers girl. Good. All right. Okay, so what did I? Rehab in 3 areas: inpatient, outpatient, the storefronts. That was good. Technology, speed, discharge. You might want to be more specific than that, and particularly if there is anything in the literature that actually says what the impact is on length of stay, and if you can actually come up with some numbers, if I reduce the length of stay by this many days or even one day, what would be the impact on the organization? I actually had some more questions about that.
So
Okay.
the difference between an ALOS of like 7.8 down to 6.7 and the cost savings associated with that per DRG.
Exactly. Because the organization is going to get the DRG whether you do it in 7 days or 15 days, right? And if you do it in 6 days, you've got a gain. That's actual revenue. I mean, people might argue they don't give us enough in the first place, but it still is a case that could be made. Use your numbers when you can.
Well, I think without making it too much longer, then I will go and research the actual DRG for stroke and the Medicare allowable, and then be able to try and balance it off of that.
Exactly, and you might actually build that into your budget on the revenue side, on the potential revenue side, so there isn't such a discrepancy. Okay, all right. In looking at the budget, when you did the training section, you put both the hand and the foot training together, and you separated it out when you put the equipment for the hand and the foot above. So I would separate out the training, because when I first looked at the numbers, it wasn't intuitive. It was like, well, why is that so much more if it was only this? So just separate them out on 2 lines, and then it's very clear what you're talking about. The travel and per diem for training was very expensive, and I know sometimes when you purchase equipment, they will come to you and do the training. So I don't know enough about this equipment to know if that would be another way that it could be done, but I think that would certainly be potentially a much more cost-effective way to do the training if the companies would come to the site and train the staff. So maybe a reason that you did it that way, I just posted as a question.
Yeah, I think the challenge with that is the type of equipment it is. Although it's a capital expenditure, it is not fixed equipment like exercise equipment. It's rather patient specific, and it's not an insurance reimbursable equipment. So typically these folks sell this equipment to the patient, not to the facility. We're looking at equipment being able to provide it to the patient for those patients that would not have the wherewithal to afford it in order to be able to improve their outcomes.
But they'd be selling it to the organization or the facility,
Hospital.
And then the facility is making the decision about who gets it, correct?
Right, so you're suggesting maybe put in there about an approach to having them come to us and provide the training on site rather than us sending a therapist to them.
Yeah, exactly. Just because it was a big part of your budget, just the travel and per diem. And
huge.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I didn't really see a sustainability plan, and that question really is what does the organization get in return? What is the return on investment? Now, it might be the difference in DRG. That might be the return on investment, but you got to think about why would the organization want to do it? Now, sure, they want to do good things for patients, but usually not if it's not cost effective. They don't want to do good things for patients. You've got to look at both sides. So so putting your thinking caps on again and really thinking, all right, so if the organization supports this, then what's the financial return? What's the ongoing return that would make some sense for the organization? I don't have the answers. I just got the questions. Okay. All right.
So
Okay.
could some of that as a sustainability be because if we use this new equipment and we get the patients out faster and back to quality of life better, there would be less usage of healthcare in facility? Like they get out of the
Yeah,
hospital
yeah.
earlier.
I would definitely write that. I think the big problem with money and hospitals right now is hospitals want their beds full. They want patients in those beds because that's how they make money. And so this is a whole new paradigm. And yeah, I mean, of course, it is the right thing to do, but I think hospitals struggle with, okay, so how do I make money? How do I stay in business? And maybe one answer to that is I don't know whether DRHA is a stroke center, but you might label it as a stroke center, like it has gone through that certification process and has become a stroke center. And maybe we say to maintain a competitive edge as a stroke center, when we add this new equipment, it differentiates us from any other hospital that might be a stroke center or might be taking care of stroke patients. So even though I'm getting patients out of here a day earlier and maybe I'm not readmitting them, now if I am this great stroke center, people will seek us out, and our potentially our volume could actually go up. And does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Now, you didn't hire anyone. You don't think you need to hire anybody?
Who did you have in mind?
Well, one of the things, okay, well, who will operate the equipment? So I'm thinking the people who are going to operate the equipment are going to be your physical therapist. But you might actually want to hire somebody who's going to be your care coordinator, who's going to do your follow-ups, who's going to do your telephone FIMS, who's, you know, somebody has to make sure that the primary care provider is in the link, kind of in the loop, kind of that whole care coordination, care transition piece. Who's going to measure your outcomes? You know, because once these patients go home, they're kind of lost to you. And so how are you know, who's going to put that together? Oh, then I had another thought. It's like, this stuff is real technological. I mean, do you need a tech? But no, those physical therapists can be the techs. And so, but I do think yeah, I'm listening.
I know, I was saying, I was looking kind of real world, that when you identify something new to add to your program, the last thing they ever give you is FTEs. It usually falls on the existing people to incorporate the new technology.
Oh, okay, but I'm still back to this whole care coordination piece. I mean, is the organization doing a great job of care coordination? And you might even talk about, you want to identify someone in your case management or your care coordination department who is going to have some responsibility for the population to make it a little more population specific. I'm with you. Any time I ever did anything, you submit the program. Oh, you want people for it? Forget it. You know. That is very real world. You're absolutely right. But you know, you can kind of play with this a little bit, and you know, maybe if the people don't travel for the training, you can afford a person with the with your funding, possibly. So just, you know, just talk about it. If it was in your organization and you were really going to do this, what would it look like? What would you need? You know, I think the other thing, even though it's very, very hard to get additional FTE, I think as a nursing leader, when you develop a proposal, you have to be very honest. Because if you need somebody, you have to say, I need somebody. Now, if they don't give it to you, then they need to know what the trade-off is. It's like, okay, that's fine, we'll do it, but maybe this is what we won't do. You know, we're going to take this on, but when we take this on, then we might not be able to do the rest of it. You walk a tightrope. It is a double-edged sword. There's no doubt about it. When you're arguing for resources, you have to have your argument pretty good, and you have to be trusted. You know, when I think sometimes I certainly remember people saying, well, you go in and you ask for twice as much, then maybe you'll get what you need. But when you start doing that quickly, people don't trust you. You know, they don't trust you to be honest about what your needs are. So so trying to make this as real world as you can, and knowing that FTE or people are really, really hard to come by. But I'd still try to. This is a call for proposals. This is an organization saying, I want to innovate. I want to put some money into it. And sometimes when there's money to be had, you can get people that way. So, but you're absolutely right, Georgia. I see exactly where you're coming from. Okay.
Well, maybe I'll build a contingency plan into it.
I think that's a great idea. That's a great idea. I want this FTE. If I can't get the FTE, then here's another way that this might be less costly to the organization. Or I don't know. Another thought I had, like if the money's only for 2 years, then you hire somebody to get the program up and running, to get the system in place, to get the technology, get the electronic health record, get all of that stuff lined up, and then maybe the position goes away at the end of 2 years, and somebody else assumes the responsibility. Good thinking and real world. Okay, other questions on your section, Georgia?
No, I think you've given me something to work with. I just have to figure out how. I think if I take the financial graphs out and make them an appendix, I'll have room to write some of the narrative that we've talked about.
Okay, good. All right, who did the integrative technologies?
I did.
Okay, good. It was very good. Now let me see I love the electronic health record, the patient portals, the telehealth monitoring. I thought that was very good. Okay, now this is back to my who's going to do the work? Who will monitor the telehealth monitoring?
That magical team that's already in place.
This magical team. Well, maybe this is where I only want one person, and look at all the things this one person is going to give you. But my experience with telehealth monitoring, depending on how many people you have, I mean, you got to check that website every day. You've got to figure out what's going on with the patient, and then if something's happening with the patient, you got to contact the patient. You got to get the patient in, or you got to get them to their provider or something like that. So I would, yeah.
I'm sorry, because when I wrote that part, I guess I was looking at it as we were continuing this rehab at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I might have overlooked some of what was written, because it sounds like we're only doing inpatient rehab but not really looking at the home part. So this doesn't really fit in. The telehealth monitoring doesn't really fit in if we're just doing inpatient rehab.
Right.
Correct?
But there's no reason that you couldn't be doing both things as you look at it.
When I was reading about some of these devices, because of course I've never utilized them, they're paid for through insurance, and there are actual companies that are monitoring this. It wouldn't necessarily have to come back through our institution.
Mm-hmm.
There are groups that, send out these monitors for people, and their group monitors.
Okay. All right.
So I don't know if that makes a difference. I don't know if that's typical. I just happened to come across that when I was looking up, some of the telehealth monitoring. So I don't know if we need to make it specific to our hospital and keep it within our group.
Has anybody else had experience with telehealth monitoring?
I'm sorry?
I'm just asking if anybody's had any experience. You know, of course, the VA, it's a closed system; they do everything, and that has been kind of my experience. But that's a very good point. That's a very good point, and maybe even figuring out, okay, so if it's done, if they do the work, who do they talk to? Do they talk to the provider? I'm assuming that's how it works, but I don't know. That's an excellent point. The other thing I thought that I read more recently is that either Medicare is proposing or has recently actually improved reimbursement for telehealth monitoring. Did you find anything like that when you were doing your research?
I did when I was looking up the device. You know, it was very specific that it was covered by insurance.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it was dependent, but there was Blue Cross, there was the Medicaid, the Medicare, there was all kinds of places that were paying for the telehealth devices.
So yeah, I guess some of the thing I kept thinking about revenue for the organization and thinking if that would be a revenue generator. But if it's kind of a freestanding support, which it may well be, then the organization isn't going to want to get in the business of that if they can contract for somebody with that. But I still thought all of those were very, very good ideas to include. Now, the other thing was if the Skyping with the MD, I think that we've come some ways with getting that reimbursed also. So I don't know whether there might be a Skype follow-up with the interdisciplinary team. I mean, I'm talking about all these things knowing that all that stuff takes time, and where you find the time to make that happen.
Mary, this is Georgia. Unfortunately, it is only the professional component. The physician can bill for his professional time to Skype, but there is nothing for the organization or case management. There's no facility reimbursement. It's only the physician that can bill for Skype consult time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was my flight of ideas on the various sections. Questions, clarifications?
I don't think so.
I think we just have a lot of putting our heads together and cutting and pasting and reorganizing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, I think I'd never heard of those technologies before, and I don't consider myself so far removed from taking care of stroke patients. But so that was a really cool thing, that there were new things going on when it comes to stroke care. So I think the ideas are great. And I think you're on the right track, and I think you're doing a good job with, supporting things. And that's the other thing I would suggest, Georgia, is if you have access to the budget template that was used, like when you took your business course. I don't know whether you still have that. It's a little more straightforward.
Yeah. I didn't think it was applicable because it seemed more like all we were doing was a straightforward capital purchase. But now that we're looking at whether there's ways to generate revenue from it, then I can see putting it in that template.
Yeah, I would try to make your case that way. I just think that's what speaks to the powers that be. Okay. Other things?
I don't think I do right now.
Okay. All right, well, keep up the great work. Anybody learn anything from doing that table of therapeutics?
I learned it was much more involved than I thought it was going to be.
I personally am just always astounded by the costs of things.
Mm-hmm.
And we send patients home with these prescriptions, and how much they're on the hook for financially when drugs get ordered. And then I don't know whether it was in one of your papers, but something that I read very recently is 25% of prescriptions never get filled. Had you read that before?
Wow.
I thought that was amazing. That
Wow.
the patient gets home and thinks, well, I can have dinner or I can buy this, and
Right.
so that was I think scary, and just points out all the other things we could improve in healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that
Wow.
just
For
makes
those
me,
of us in
yeah. Mhm. Go ahead.
For those of us in the oncology realm where chemotherapy oral drugs are now coming at the price of $1,500 a tablet, we opened a retail pharmacy in the cancer center to make sure people leave with their prescriptions, because otherwise they don't fill them.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. Or the drug for hepatitis C. I think that's $1,000 a pill. It's like, wow, and okay, research and development. I'm sure the drug companies spent a whole lot of money getting us here, but is
Mm-hmm.
this really reasonable? I don't
Right.
know. Don't know the answers, but I think it's finally getting a lot more scrutiny in the lay press than it ever did before,
Mm-hmm.
and that's probably good. I think that'll help maybe make some change, trying to make it fairer.
Wow.
Okay, other concerns? All right. Well, I'll let you get back to your Sunday afternoon, but I'm sure it's evening now. And you changed times last night.
Yeah, it's almost 6 here.
Yeah. And we just stay the same in Arizona. It's more calculating what everybody else is doing. Okay. Well,
Right.
anything else? I'm yours.
Probably once we hang up, we'll think of our
Yeah.
questions.
Okay. Well, just write it down and let me know. Okay.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It's been fun. I'll let you go,
Thanks.
and we will talk
Yeah.
soon. Okay.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
So, Georgia, I was telling the ladies before you came on, because we were talking about the TheraSuit and not being able to find anything for it. And I did find two other really cool things that do have research that have studies behind them. One is called the Lokomat, Lokomat. I, of course, couldn't find how much they cost, but that was really cool that we could, have. Or there was also this Alter G bionic leg that looked pretty cool, too, that was shown. So those might be things that we could research a little harder to replace the TheraSuit with.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got data on them to support them, just tell me what they are, because all I did with the other stuff is I picked up the phone and called the manufacturer's reps and got all the financial data and the insurance reimbursement stuff.
I can step on this. I will go back through and maybe find the articles that I had found and then just send them to everybody. And then you guys could look at them and see if that's something we'd want to replace the TheraSuit with.
That'll work.
And I think I'll go back to the drawing board on the budget and try and figure out how to craft a revenue-generating budget for this stuff, because I sort of went into this thinking we were looking at something that was sort of mission-driven, philanthropic, and it sounds like she wants us to figure out a way to make it make money.
Right.
Which might be hard.
Yeah.
At least she liked our idea. Well, that's good.
Right.
It's a step in the right direction.
Hey, it's all imagination. I can figure out a way to make it make money with my imagination. Just don't ask me to do it in real life.
Exactly.
That should work
Who
then.
needs a stinking care coordinator? We can make this work.
Oh,
So,
I think we're going to hire her. I think we're going to hire her. I think we're going to have a financial analyst. And I think I'm going to have some kind of techie in here, too.
There you go.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So
how about if I can figure out how to make the budget and balance the budget, can you guys then beef like those other roles into your sections once we get the budget together?
Yep.
I know that's kind of doing it backwards, but
That's all right.
Yeah.
We get the pieces.
However this has to work.
No problem.
So our next mentoring session needs to be scheduled for next week, or I'm sorry, the week after, between the 9th and the 15th. Do you guys have a date preference?
We could do Sunday the 15th. I'm off again. Does that work for everybody?
I'm always a great Sunday afternoon person. It's either that or football, so yeah.
Elaine,
Yeah,
how about you?
I can do the 15th.
Okay, is 4 o'clock work for everybody?
So are you saying 4 o'clock
Yeah.
Central?
Yeah, 4 o'clock Central, sorry.
Yes, that would be fine. I could do that. I can either go to my brother's house or do something.
And then, so they're literally back-to-back weeks, it looks like. We have one the 9th through the 15th, and then they want another one the next week, the 16th through the 22nd. Do we want to shoot
That's
for
because they're probably all on break for Thanksgiving.
Yeah. The 21st, the Saturday, I could do. I work that Sunday, the 22nd.
Hang on just a second.
I can do a Saturday fine.
I am too.
Hang on just a second. I got to get to the 21st. So I'm working, but again, you know, it'll be obviously if I can make it, I'll make it. If I can, as long as it's taped, I at least can hear the comments. So
Okay.
that's fine. Because I work the Sunday too, so it's not going to matter.
Okay, so what time are we thinking on that Sunday?
I mean the Saturday?
Or that Saturday, I'm sorry.
Saturday.
Whenever. I'm off that day. I don't have any plans.
Elaine, does it work better early or late for you, do you think?
It totally doesn't matter. I mean, you know, we're like the fire department. I mean, we never
Right.
know when the emergency is going to hit. So anything between like 11 and 2 is bad because that's lunch coverage time. But
Right. So are we thinking earlier or later?
whatever you guys want.
4
Jordan?
o'clock looks good again. If you just
4?
4
Okay.
o'clock.
All right, and then do we want to go ahead and talk about, because the next week is we have two, they want our final mentoring session to be the week of November 30th to December 6th.
I don't have my schedule for that time just
Okay.
yet.
Okay,
Well-
so just keep that in mind then.
Okay. And that was December what?
It was November 30th through December 6th will be our final one
Okay.
that we have to schedule.
Okay.
Yeah, I work Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday that week. So if you're looking for a weekend, the 5th, 6th would work better for me.
Okay.
But again, it's, you know, whatever we need.
So right now we'll question, December 6th is a Sunday, so right now we'll say questionably December 6th at 4 p.m. And Melissa, you'll just have to get back and let us know. Georgia,
Yeah.
does that work for you?
At work, yeah. The Sunday afternoons are always fine. Saturday afternoons are always fine.
I'm probably gonna work. I'll probably have to work that Sunday. Just FYI. But if I do, and if I've got time, I might be able to do what Elaine's doing. If not, I'll just have to watch the recorded
Okay.
session. So.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Do we want to make a plan to have all the changes done? Do we want a timeline on this?
We probably should.
Because that next section is coming up pretty quick.
Yes, I know. So our mentoring session, if we're going to do it November 15th, we'd have it 3 days, 2 or 3 days before.
Right.
So we just want to do.
So how about 6 days before? How about like the 9th?
Yeah,
So
that's what
that
I was
gives us
gonna
about
say,
a
9th
week.
and 10th.
Monday the 9th to have the next session done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that lets us get some of the DOCC stuff out of the way, and then we can go back and focus on this again.
Yeah.
So this is to have the next section done, like my outcomes group, not to make changes that she wanted.
Right. But we still need to
Both,
get that.
I think.
Huh?
Probably both, because
I
if
thought
we're
it was
going to get
both. I thought it was to
Okay.
shore up our
That's fine.
sections and write our next section.
That's
Okay.
fine.
That's fine.
Instead of using the Google Doc, can we just email the updated sections?
yeah.
Because it's really hard to download those off of the Google Doc and try to get them put into the flow of the document. And I'll go back and update that title page with the dates and stuff.
Okay. So we'll just use Gmail and send them that way.
Yeah.
And
Post
also,
them on the discussion board either way.
and when
I've
you
been
do,
putting them in both places just in case the professors are trying to monitor or it's easier.
and I think when we do make the changes, make sure we do it in a different color so she can actually see the changes.
That's
And
good.
it also make it easier for Sarah to put it all together that way too. Cut and paste.
Yeah.
Well, you know what we could do is, as we do our sections in Word, if we turn on track changes, it'll automatically show our changes, and then Sarah will just have to turn it off when she incorporates a document
Right.
Sure.
at the end.
Okay. I'll try and cut the technology part down and include, you know, whatever. And I'll use that tracker change and do that.
Okay. That sounds
And
good.
what do you guys think? What do you want to do with this telehealth monitoring? Go with it's because the insurance company is paying for it, that is being monitored through that other company so that we don't have to worry about those costs and just let that one get off the table? Or do you want it incorporated into our team?
I don't know. I've got to find some revenue. So why don't you send me the data on it, and we'll see if there's a way. If I look at the billing codes, the CPT codes, and the HCPCS codes, and see if there's a way we can make it show that it would make money for us to do it.
Okay.
Well, you know, you can still always tie it back into core measures and value-based purchasing, since stroke rehabilitation is a huge part of that, and stroke discharge.
All right, I'll see if I can refine that because, you know, heaven knows I've looked at so many things. I don't know where anything is anymore. But I'll see what I can find and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
Sounds good.
All right.
And then are we still going to meet on Wednesday, or are we good not to meet while we're working on all this?
I think we're good not to.
So unless we have something
I think we can do
major,
most of it with email. If there's questions, I think we can post questions out there and just email
Right.
back and forth.
Sounds good to me.
I agree.
Okay.
All right.
Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
You too.
All right, ladies.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.